Open the Town of Ayer Select Board meeting for Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. This meeting/hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom, meeting ID number 978-772-8220, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220 extension 100 prior to the meeting. We could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any changes or amendments to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that the agenda be approved as submitted.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Do have one announcement for this evening, and that is that there is a town-wide cleanup, which will be Saturday, April 12th, from 8:30 a.m. to noon. And you can pick up your bags for this at the Sandy Pond Beach. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to Ayer Recycles at ayer.ma.us. Again, that's Saturday, April 12th, 8:30 to noon. Okay. I'd like to start with public input. Is there anybody online or here for public input?
I'm here. I can't get my hand up.
Okay.
It's Pauline.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No problem. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. With the governor's extension of the hybrid meeting option, I just want to confirm that the Ayer Board of Selectmen will adopt that. I know Selectman Livingston was all in favor of it a couple of weeks ago, but there's at least one board that has said they won't proceed with Zoom meetings unless the state approves it. So I just want you all on record for that.
Yes.
I want it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, we will continue. Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you very much. And will you inform all the boards and committees of the town?
We already did.
Yep. Yep.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
I think you have a hand.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, please come up. And just if you state your name, yeah, and address again.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Christine Goulet, 15 Deer Run. I spoke before you a few weeks ago at the Select Board meeting, and I am beyond delighted to see a draft proposed to ban rodenticides, second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides here in the town of Ayer. I'm also delighted here to welcome our state senator and state representative, who I'm proud to say are co-sponsors of the bill. The bill is now H965 and S644, called an act restricting the use of rodenticides in the environment. I have been quite active in this movement for over a year and a half now, and I'm just delighted now to see it come to Ayer. I am a teacher, and I've been working very closely with my students. There are 80 community groups who have organized to ban SCARs and educate others about their adverse effects. There are 7 towns and cities who have already filed home rule petitions, and 6 towns are currently working on doing that in the spring to ask permission from the state to ban these rodenticides from private lands. 24 towns have already banned it on municipal property, and 11 more are working towards it right now. And now I'm happy to say that makes 12 air as to the list. Legislation has also been recently proposed in the state of Rhode Island. I know Connecticut as well, and California has already led it. As of recently, yesterday, March 31st, SCARs were banned on municipal property in Marlborough. March 26th, Lexington passed their home rule petition for private property and asking the state. March 5th was banning municipal property in Grafton. February 4th, again, and municipal property in Lowell. It's only due. It's time for Ayer to act as well, join the movement. This is what people want. My only recommendation with the proposal was to provide for education, providing for educating the public about rodenticide hazards to human health and the ecosystem, and to provide for IPM, integrated pest management alternatives. But I think this is a great positive step, not only for our environment, but for our children and for our pets. So I do thank you. Thank you, Town Manager. Thank you for tonight.
Okay, move on to our next item, public hearing for a poll petition for National Grid and Verizon.
All right, Town of Ayer, notice of public hearing, Ayer Select Board. The Ayer Select Board will be conducting an in-person and remote participation public hearing on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. regarding a petition by National Grid and Verizon New England to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining protecting fixture along and across the following public way. Plan number 3093834 Shirley Street, National Grid, to install 2 JO poles and Shirley Street, beginning at a point approximately 68 feet east of the center line of the intersection of Mill and Shirley Streets and continuing approximately 197 feet in an east direction. Installing mid-span pole 290-50, 45 feet south from P290 and 65 feet north of P291. Install mid-span pole half 97 feet east from P1 and 172 feet west from P290-50. See plan on the reverse side of this public hearing.
Thanks. All right, and I believe we have somebody on Zoom from National Grid. Evan?
Well, I'm listening in representing National Grid today and the design that was put forth by us.
Okay. All right. Any questions regarding this from particular petition? Carly?
Just Mr. Chair and Evan, I think you were forwarded some information from the town. There were some comments from our DPW director and our police chief regarding some other poles in town that were slanted. And Chief, if you want to, is the police chief here?
Yep.
Yeah, do you want to just come speak to that? The image, but it was Cambridge Street or
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so last year or the year before, there was a project done by National Grid to replace some poles, and it kind of went from Park Street in the area of the gas station and went up Groton Street, down Pearl, over to Cambridge, and over to Washington. And so we have that whole stretch is all double poled right now. The National Grid, it seems like they took care of their electric part of it and then just kind of chopped the poles. But some of those poles are dangerously leaning. Some of them, I would say, over 25% degree into the roadway. So I've got a concern there, but also a concern with the double poles, especially on intersections where you have to look around 2 poles to try and get out into the intersection. So I'd like to, as we, hear petitions like this, to kind of make sure that we're cleaning up the projects that we've already approved out there.
thank you.
Evan, can you confirm that you received those comments?
Yeah, I did. I was just going to take notes on it. So, with regards to the second polls, because we have a partnership with Verizon, we set the poles, Verizon removes the poles. Um, so I know that Verizon sometimes takes a little bit longer than would like to see for the poles to get removed, but that is just the agreement that the two companies have with one another. And it sounds like also the leaning poles were a product of the poles that were left over as the second poles with the chop tops. So if there's any major concern, I can take some notes down and see if there's anything. But as far as what I'm able to do today, I'm just here to represent these poles that are being put in.
Do you have a question?
Well, I guess if we need some type of a confirmation that this is gonna get taken care of, and if he's saying that we gotta talk to Verizon, then do we want new poles installed while waiting for Verizon to, you know, take out old poles? So I have a concern about that.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
So Verizon has been notified. We do proper documentation to ensure that they get notice that the poles need to be removed. I know their timelines are a little slow, so I am sorry about that.
Just gonna throw this out there. Perhaps we can table this till the next meeting and then have a representative from Verizon here as well.
yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Yep, I agree.
So I'll make a motion that this public hearing be tabled until our next meeting, which is on April 15th, with Verizon also being asked to be in attendance.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you all.
All right, okay, so we're done?
Yeah.
I make a motion to close the public hearing? No, to continue. I'm sorry, to continue. I make a motion to continue the public hearing until April 15th.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Moving on, next up, I'd like to welcome up the state legislative delegation, Senator Jamie Eldridge and Representative Dan Senna. Good evening.
Aye.
So good evening. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for
Thanks
coming.
for coming.
Yep. Many updates, but obviously top topic, which is deeply frustrating, is the announcement last week by UMass Memorial to announce that they will be building an ER facility in West Groton, and I just so appreciate this board's, and I know Robert co-chaired the Neshoba Valley Health Working Group for many, many months, and I know each select board member has been particularly vocal, especially select board member Livingston on social media. Thank you. You know, I just so appreciate your efforts, and you know, we were trying in every possible way to convince the governor to be more active with UMass Memorial, to reopen the Neshoba Valley Medical Center Hospital, to have the site be on that 28-acre property, and I don't have to tell anyone here, but incredibly frustrating that these negotiations were private, whether between UMass Memorial and Apollo Medical Properties, or whatever communication to have between the governor and UMass Memorial. So while I think an ER facility is, you know, a not a terrible thing, it's just incredibly disappointing, and I know for, you know, many of our constituents, just very disappointing that we're not going to get the full services that we had with the Neshoba Valley Medical Center back. Is it possible that something could happen down the road? It is possible, but, you know, also don't want to have rose-colored glasses right now with the announcement. So certainly in my communication, I say probably our communication with UMass Memorial, and, you know, when their legislative affairs called us last week, that certainly they talking about a very robust ER facility. So I think certainly in the interest that, given that's the decision, what can we do to make sure it's as robust as possible? But I will say I'm concerned about its location because it's not close to a highway, and I don't think it serves sort of the eastern region, eastern part of Neshoba Valley, if you will. And that's just Ayer, that's Littleton, that's Boxborough, that's Harvard for us. So I have a few more updates on things. I don't know if anyone wants to ask any questions about that first or anything, but I have some other updates, but I don't want to
Yes.
bury that.
Hi, nice to see you both.
You too.
So I got to tell you, one of the biggest concerns, and it just feels like a slap on the face to the people in this region, is that she hasn't once even acknowledged, since it closed on August 31st, she hasn't even acknowledged this area. Okay? Now, the rumor is that she's ignoring this area because she doesn't need it for re-election. Well, here's the thing about that. And perhaps she's right, but you know what? Perhaps she's wrong, because, see, outside of this area that, that has been impacted by this, we know people that live like on the next area, and we're going to tell them, and they're going to tell someone. And so we're going to do the whole Fabergé commercial, tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on and so on and so on. Because to even have this region ignored, and that's exactly what's going on. So, hey, she drove to see Nibby, which personally I would have gone to, but I didn't get invited. She's gone to eat all the ice cream. She's posted about it numerous times. So, we can joke about me saying that, but she's posted about it numerous times. She's left the state to go, campaign for other people. She left the state to go appear on Seth Meyers' late night talk show, which I don't even know why he contacted her. So it's great news to think that we might have this emergency room, in 26? But construction doesn't always go the way we want to, so it could be 27, but there's no beds. Meanwhile, we want to increase the housing in this area, but we have decreased the services. Okay, so now I know everybody knows that I get pretty upset about this issue, because it doesn't just impact me. It impacts everyone around here. It impacts somebody who lives in Worcester who decided to visit a friend here. Okay? This is asinine. I'm gonna be point blank. And the fact that she's ignored us. And we need you two to scream a little bit louder. And I'm not saying you didn't scream. I'm saying we need you to scream a little bit louder, because this is totally unsat. And I wouldn't, and to have any governor do this to this region, to any region, is totally unsat. And this is not leadership. She is not a leader, because she has ignored us. She doesn't even acknowledge. I haven't even seen one tweet out of her to even say, oh, isn't that nice, that there's going to be an emergency facility. Over 35 letters have been sent to her. Nothing. Nothing. In fact, it's been quieter than crickets, because even the crickets aren't making sounds. And I think it's high time she get off her high horse and acknowledge the failures over here. Now, whether or not she could have solved the issue, well, we'll never know. What we do know is that she didn't bother. That we do know. The fact that it was 30 days notice to close a hospital is unsat. There wasn't even an attempt to say, hey, judge, instead of the 30 days, could you at least give us 60 days so we can kind of clean up a mess? The fact that all the doctors in this region were left without any resources or any way to get privileges is totally unsat. And where was the administration? Where was the state? Where was the Department of Health? That stupid public hearing was a joke. And honestly, you know what? I think it was invalid. How do you have a public hearing when the decision has already been made. That's not a public hearing, that's just a, hey, come into the room so we can tell you what's happened. But we don't care about what your opinion is. So it's time for someone to, honestly, her chief of staff, we know they're getting the letters. It's the chief of staff's job to say, hey, Governor, all these letters, all these people are screaming for you. Could you put down the ice cream and address it? Nothing. Zilch. This area has been ignored. But you want to increase housing with no services. Tell me, on what universe, what dimension does that even make sense? It doesn't. And I am, in case anyone missed it, a little PO'd about this. And everyone involved should be ashamed of themselves for ignoring this issue. Why do we even have this Department of Public Health? Where they've been? Did they help any of the doctors? No. Some of them went into retirement when some of them weren't even planning on it. They wanted to hang out a little bit longer, but they've retired. We all went scrambling around like, where are we going? All the work was left to us. Where was the state? Seriously. So somebody knock on her door and say, what the hell are you doing? Because this is the most unsatisfactory situation I have ever seen in my entire life.
I want to say thank you, Janice. I mean, you're certainly talking for the town of Ayer, for the residents of Ayer, for the people of Ayer, and the surrounding, towns in this that benefited from the hospital. I am very sorry. I am also upset from how it all happened. We certainly have seen Stewart monopolizing or perhaps using healthcare to make money out of it, and it started off with perhaps a corruption company or a business or a hospital. And I just want to start off with thank you for all the members here for inviting us to speak here tonight. When we received a notice back in August of last year, we certainly tried to delay the closure. And I agree with you that the Department of Public Health could have done a little bit more, could have been a little bit stronger on imposing some of the fines or some of the fees for violating some of those rules. But what I was informed is, it's a foreclosure, they're going to foreclosure, there's no money left. I mean, just to think of that, it was, to me, certainly wrong. I am glad that there is a hospital coming in the area in Groton, and who knows, maybe in 2 or 3 years. Certainly good news on that end, but certainly upset because I wanted to see it back here in Ayer. And that's what we have been advocating, calling for. We want that hospital back in Ayer. Why Ayer? Because it's in the center. It's in the center of the Neshoba Valley area, and that's where the other hospital was. So we wanted to, even if it wasn't that same location, I would have liked to see another partial here, at least here in Ayer. And I know that they have tried to negotiate with the owners of the land, but certainly we got no numbers in terms of what they would like to see for that property. So there's no willingness to work with even another private entity to try to sell that. Maybe, I don't know if Robert knows more, but I am really upset how that came about. I also want to mention that tomorrow I'll be meeting with the Ways and Means Chair and certainly we wanted to bring up the Chapter 70. We can go back to the hospital. I just want to give my updates if that's okay. On Chapter 70 formula, how we need to do more to support local towns in our area, in our district, in terms of how we fund education. Because certainly with the modification or the change on the formula, we're not benefiting from that. I think we were getting more money than we were then than what we are now. So there's several legislation that I've co-sponsored that would address some money right away in terms of there's a bill by Rep. Scarsdale that would actually fully fund regional transportation for regional schools. That's one of them. Another is really to keep the rate of inflation up with the formula. There's another circuit breaker from 75% to 90% reimbursement rate. So those are the small changes we can do now to benefit, to help fund the education point of view. But the main thing, well, all my colleagues and what we have, discussed, well, what is the best way to approach this formula is to ask for committee to study the formula and give us recommendation, because we want to get it right and we want to do it in a way that is not going to trigger us to go back and visit the formula over again. And I have been also asking the Ways and Means Chair for funding, so to protect, the chief is here, the fire chief is here, to help with staffing, at least for those 2 years while we're waiting. So there's $9.1 million that would help the 13 communities with some money to offset the need to go to, travel further for healthcare. So certainly that's something that I'm going to bring it up with our discussion. And I know my colleague, Rep. Scarsdale, has been really leading this effort, and I want to thank her for that. I echo, Janice, a lot of your concern with the governor's office. I have sent emails to them, and I have no replied. I had to literally, in a meeting, to bring that up, that her office was ignoring my office. I don't know if they just didn't receive that email, but it was really a request for the town of Boxborough to get the grant for an ambulance, and that was something we felt Boxborough should have been included in that grant originally for. I know there were 6 communities that received. So there were some lack of communication, I think, with our office, but we addressed it. We met with their staff, with their chief of staff, along with other senators and representatives, pushing and advocating for that 9.1 million. So we have been asking, we have been, doing what we can. Certainly frustrating when we see a governor ignoring a hospital that is closing and not even issuing a statement or responding to some of your letters. I think it's really important, like you said, you feel that you should focus more on ice cream than on the healthcare crisis here. But I know it's a hard position to, when you're a governor and you have to manage the whole state, and there's this chaos with the corruption going on in terms of that in the healthcare field, and what we can do to avoid it. And I think, I know in the House we took some measures to prevent that from happening in the future, from them, I guess, charging rent for their own land, or I know there was a healthcare bill that we passed last session. But with that, I also want to say that I'm going to be asking for $100,000 for the new senior center here in town as a earmark to help support. So I hope that goes through in the budget. I don't know, Jimmy, if there's anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple things is related to the request, and I do, of course, want to thank Chief Johnson for his leadership as well, is that regarding the proposal for operating costs, given the extra costs that all the 15 communities have borne, is the governor's office did call us yesterday, the liaison, that the governor, who filed a sub-budget today, is including a $10 million reserve fund that any community that's been negatively impacted by health services decline or closure can apply for. So the governor has filed that. So obviously now it's up to the House and Senate to pass that. So I do think, is disappointing as the news has been by UMass Memorial, I think they're realizing, what a spot they put all the communities in, including Ayer. So that could be an opportunity to address some of the extra operating costs that Ayer and other communities have borne. So I just want to note that. And Carly, did my aide send you the letter we sent just before the announcement? Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we were up until the last minute, we were asking for much stronger action. If I could, just beyond what Representative Sina added, is, and I agree with them on the budget requests on the sort of school side, is that I did attend the Devon's Housing Working Group meeting today, and so it was noted that the $300,000 that I think is going through Ayer for the future of Devon's is close to being released. Is that
Yes.
correct, Robert?
Yep.
But I have heard a little feedback about is that going to be for the future of Devon's? Is that just going to be for housing? So I don't know if what the it might be too soon to ask the town's view, but I did hear some commentary today at the Devon's meeting about that. But obviously that was something that we advocated for, and I appreciate Ayer showing the leadership to be the recipient of that grant. But it was a interesting meeting today, and as you probably already know, the goal is for recommendations for that working group to be done in May. So that could be a recommendation, to change the zoning at Vicksburg Square, which obviously, in my opinion, would mean it would have to go through a super town meeting. So look forward to feedback from the town on that. And then outside of that, we have been advocating as a delegation for the National River Rail Trail, which of course starts here in Ayer. And so DCR is going to spend $43,000 to patch up some of the rail trail, but we have been advocating for, I think it's a $2 or $3 million earmark to repave the entire rail trail, including of course in Ayer. So we are in our conversation with the DCR Commissioner Arrigo. We do believe that money could be released in FY27, so next year, and that would be a full repaving because, of course, this is one of the oldest rail trails now in the state, and anyone that's ridden on it knows has a lot of holes and patches. So just wanted to let you know we've been advocating on that front as well. So that's my update, and looking forward to any questions. But
And I just want to add that I missed my committee assignments. I'm in the Agriculture Committee this session with climate action and sustainability. Also Joint Committee on Children's and Family with People with Disability. And finally is the Intergovernmental Affair Committee. So I think there would be some bills that would address climate, in terms of PFAS and what we can do to support the town of Ayer with those efforts of the cleanup with so many contaminants around, and I appreciate the resident leading some of the work. And last, my only point on the education that I do have a bill that would increase the state foundation budget by 4% from the state and remove it from the local level. So that would be all from me for now. If there's any questions.
Have either of you been personally affected by the hospital being closed?
Absolutely. Yep.
So someone that you know?
My niece, she got laid off, and I've gone there for healthcare myself. So certainly, very detrimental not only to my family, my healthcare needs too, and everyone around. This fight was personal to me, and I did everything I could within my power to make sure that the message was clear to the people in power that could do something. But we also have to keep in mind we're working against multi-million-dollar, very powerful company, and we relied on another, and I was advocating for a nonprofit to come in so we don't rely on the for-profit method. And just this morning, Senator Eldridge and I, we were in a lobby day for health, Medicare for All bill. So we want that, and I spoke about Stewart, about the hospital. I gave that as a strong example as to why we need to change the way we approach healthcare, not only in the state, but in this country.
So, but neither of you have had a loved one, a friend in the middle of the night wake up needing immediate medical attention since the hospital's closed?
We've certainly had constituents, but yeah, I can't say I have a family member. Yep.
So I've been affected myself personally. Over this weekend, we had a friend that came in, visited us at 11 p.m., had an allergic reaction. And, she said, I can't breathe. And I said, all right, we got to figure this out fast because we don't have an emergency room right down the street. What I have to say is you're coming off political. My fellow select board member, Ms. Livingston, was passionate, and I liked hearing her passion. That's what I'm looking for from you two. Having that passion and not kind of giving these political answers of this is what we look at, and it's kind of, whatever. You should be right here with us. Why is she not responding to us? So I found that disappointing. You're in the fight with us. Okay? So, I mean, so here in a public forum, do you find, and I'm looking for the short answer, not the political answer, do you find what the governor did acceptable?
Not at all. Nope.
Okay?
Yeah,
And
same,
both you
same,
both
yeah.
feel that way. So going forward, what's the plan? Do we have a plan? Even if it's knock on the door every single day? Something, not just, something that's measurable that we can look and say, we have, faith in our elected officials to get this done.
Chris Tavares, right? I called the CEO of Emerson Hospital and asked her, hey, would you be willing to go to that site? The answer was, then we tried 10 years ago. And then after we opened some urgent care in Littleton and Groton, so that was her response. So just for you to have a sense that I was doing what I could to try to get another CEO or another hospital that has perhaps a better model than what we had to move into that site. And I'm sure the Senator Eldridge is the same. We're here protesting, we were lobbying, we were doing, with the people. We went to the hospital, Janice was there, and many other residents, and seen professional doctors who want to serve people, who want to help people with whatever their issue, and get laid off after 30 years. And that's not healthcare. It's not acceptable. And my blood boils when we're going through things like this. And so that's why I'm telling you, it's personal to me. And politics is personal. And I know it's worse for some people than perhaps it is for me. But I'm very upset with how everything happened. I'm originally from Brazil. When I found out about what Stewart was happening, and I only thought these things happened in Brazil. It was happening here in our. So that for me was an open moment in which was, I had a empathy that, well, it could happen anywhere, with, making profits out of healthcare and out of people's health conditions.
Okay. I don't know if you remember my speech at that, public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Where I said, and I mean it, we'll remember in November when we vote, and I will still keep that pledge. I will do everything I can to not have her reelected. And I know we all feel that way. The fact that you just couldn't even acknowledge us, the bare minimum. I tell people all the time, the bare minimum is just to show up, listen, and do something. So that's my main question was, I just wanted to make sure that you have the same passion as Ms. Livingston did. She spoke so well with that passion that I could feel, and I hope that's how you feel as well, because your job is to represent all of us, just like we represent the town of Ayer.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Chair, just 2 points and a comment. So Senator Eldridge, I'll connect with you about the $300,000.
Yeah.
It is going to move forward. We'll connect off online.
Sure. Yep.
My question is, the 10 million reserve fund, is that statewide or just for Neshoba?
It is statewide, but the government affairs person for the governor assured me that Neshoba Valley would be a priority. So that's the instruction. Now, obviously, we need to keep applying pressure. Yeah.
Right. So just, and I know you know this, but just to stress this, as you know, in December of 2024, we all sent the letter. You gentlemen signed it. I signed it. All the town managers, the entire delegation, and all of the chiefs. It was on December 30th that the governor got it. It's now April 1st. The letter clearly says that, and this is based on work done by the chiefs, that it's conservatively estimated that we need $9.1 million over the next 2 fiscal years to prevent the EMT system for the Neshoba Valley from collapsing. It's concerning. I'm glad that you finally got a call, because the chiefs, we haven't even gotten a response on that letter. But I think we can agree that 10 million statewide
Mhm.
isn't gonna do it.
Yep, yep. Well
We're gonna
said.
need, and, I mean, that's one of the things we have to continue to fight on, because without federal or state influx of this funding, this system is going to collapse.
Mhm.
The question is, are we gonna be proactive and do something about it, or are we gonna wait until it completely collapses, because it's cracking?
Mhm.
The last thing, Mr. Chair, just on the issue, of the hospital.
Mhm.
The fundamental issue in all of this comes down to three things, and it rests with the governor. The first is there was zero leadership. Secondly, there was no funding from the state.
Mhm.
And third, there's been a complete abdication from the region on this. The issue that is so difficult, I think, for everybody to swallow, and we've talked about this, is that the hospital closes, as mentioned. The 6-month, by state law, the 6-month closure is waived by the state. In fact, one of the state's attorneys says in Texas, referred to the Neshoba Valley Medical Center as a black hole.
Mhm.
The governor comes out here to a closed session meeting with the working group in October, much to the concern of many of us.
Mhm.
So the public wasn't there. And at that, and you were there, Representative Center, I know you were away, Senator, at the time, and you were there. And she was,
Just, you had to beg.
yeah,
You had to beg to
Right,
get him
yeah.
to be able to attend.
but she was asked point blank in this room, if we secure a certified operator, will we get the same consideration as the other Steward hospitals that have closed? And she said yes. And the Secretary of Health and Human Services was sitting next to her, and Commissioner Goldstein was sitting next to her. That consideration, as you know, in St. Elizabeth's, she used eminent domain to take the hospital. In others, the varying amount of resources
Mhm.
ranges anywhere from 9 million to 35 million.
Mhm.
So then through the working group effort, we get a certified operator. UMass steps up,
Mhm.
which is good news, because as you know, there are very few certified operators. They're like unicorns. There's not, unfortunately, you need a certified operator. So we have the certified operator, that we know. We have the site, we know, and I just want to make this very clear. Nobody, UMass Memorial is not the problem here. They have stepped up.
Mhm.
And the governor has put them, the lack of leadership and resources have put them in a Plan B mode, which isn't to anybody's benefit.
Mhm.
But the issue is once we had the certified operator and we had the site, and UMass has even said their preferred site was the Neshoba Valley Medical Center, right?
Mhm.
We also know from the working group that the preferred model was to put the emergency room back up there and then over time phase all of the other elements. We also knew it's a 32-acre site with expansion, has a medical building, which those doctors will be out of here by the end of the year now because they've been holding on, has a helicopter pad, zoned hospital, water, sewer, and everything I'm saying has been conveyed for 6 months to the state.
Mhm.
So UMass engages in negotiations with Apollo. They both sign NDA agreements. So we don't know. UMass can't talk, Apollo can't talk. They hit a roadblock. My guess, and this is Robert's guess, is that Apollo, because I think they fall in the same category as Steward, they're a $365 billion private equity real estate firm, probably wanted too much money. UMass Memorial is a nonprofit, has a small budget, so they put what they could on the table.
Mhm.
I think it needs to be crystal clear that the governor put nothing on the table. The governor wasn't even at the table. And for 6 months, as you know, we spent trying to get the state at the table to exert leadership, to come up with the resources. I mean, they put nothing on the thing. So UMass hit a roadblock. So what do? They go to Plan B. The minute they announce that they're going to Plan B, what happens next? The governor announces the dissolvement of the working group on March 19th. The job was just getting started, but we're going to close the working group, declare victory, and this site is gonna go to Groton. Now, I have said this clearly, don't begrudge the town of Groton, don't begrudge the SEF project. But we also know from UMass that if they went up here, it would be open in December, a whole year sooner. We know that all of the chiefs prefer, all of the Neshoba chiefs prefer the Neshoba location. But yet, UMass has to go to Groton or to some other site because the governor and the state has not only done their job, but what they promised they would do. If the governor had made an effort, I think you would agree. If the governor actually made an effort, and at the end of the day, Apollo said, nope, you know, it was ridiculous, we would still all be disappointed, but we would have known that the governor had done her job. That hasn't happened here. So to just conclude, and why I say this is because the public has been left largely in the dark on this, as you know, and you know from the beginning, I stressed a public component to this whole working group, which the governor didn't want any part of. The key piece is that I strongly believe that we would have a true success story if the governor had done her job, and we don't even know why,
Right,
because she
exactly.
won't communicate.
Right.
So just to conclude the point of the impacts is we lost the hospital. When the hospital went, we lost 600 jobs. We now have a 32-acre vacant site that was a hospital for 60 years up there. And where do we go from here? And the other concerning part is that the SEF only addresses a small piece of healthcare for the region. And I just think that it is really truly a tragedy, which I think that nobody, and being somebody that's been involved with it for 6 months, can explain. So I think the message, as what you're hearing, and not just to you, but to the entire delegation, is that the governor and her people not only need to respond to the 150,000 people out here, but what is the plan moving forward? Because the healthcare, we're no better off 6 months down the road than we were 6 months ago. And we still have 2 years to go before this SEF may or may not be operational.
Right. Agree with everything you said, and yeah, and I think that's almost as frustrating as the fact that the hospital is obviously closed, is that there was no communication. We don't know really what happened between the governor and Apollo or governor in UMass. So
I mean, you and I have been involved in this a long time. You on the state side, me on the municipal side for over 20 years. We've worked with all of the governors, Democrats, Republicans, right, from way
absolutely.
back. I have never seen anything like this. Like, it's like silence. Would you agree?
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know where we go from here.
Yep. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Rep, thank you.
And we will convey all these things to
Yeah.
the governor's office.
Questions, comments? Yes?
First of all, I want to thank you again for being here. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, years ago when I first got on, I'm just so mad I'm shaking. I really am, and I'm just over here doing breathing exercises. I'm so upset about this.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could really tell everybody in this town was that I care about them, and I will do everything I can to wrap my arms around them to protect them. And that is all I can really do at this particular moment. So I need you guys to do that a little bit more. I also understand the position you're in. You got to deal with the others. You got to deal with, you know, maybe Worcester, like, well, they want money for whatever they want. Well, too bad on them. You know, we're going to come first.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I do understand, but at the same time, you need to get louder. We need you to get louder. Okay? I personally have got my arms outstretched as far as I can to protect these people. Okay, because that's all I can do is to throw myself at you to say enough. Okay? So again, I appreciate you being here. I know you two walk off going, oh my God, she yelled at us again.
No,
No,
that's our job.
And that's fine. And I'll yell at you again probably, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate you. Okay? But on a separate note, our library is very concerned that they're not gonna have funding, so I wanna make sure that that gets put out there, that our library is taken care of.
The librarian is here.
Yeah, I think he just left, so, but I just wanted to
I
make sure.
chatted with him a little bit and
Yeah.
sent us an email. I know what's happening
Yeah.
at the federal level. And
Yeah,
trying to
so I
sort
just
it
wanna
out.
make sure that our library is gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the town is signed on to the effort, and I
Okay,
know
yeah.
that Luke Kirkland, the library, is looking for both of you and probably the rest of the guys to sign on to the.
Sure.
I'll make sure he sends it to you. We'll get it to you, but sign on this effort about the funding.
Okay.
The Worcester Public
Oh.
Library is organizing the whole state
Okay.
response, but as you know, the funding situation is not looking good, and that has a trickle-down effect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, great. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
Pleasure.
coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, have a good
Yep.
evening.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, next up is going to be a joint meeting of the Select Board and the Finance Committee to review or approve of the final fiscal year 2026 budget and approval of the 2025 special and annual town meeting warrant. Good evening. Kurt, do you want to call your Finance Committee to order?
Hi, my name is Kurt Preskowski, Chairman of the Finance Committee. I'd like to call our committee to order for a special meeting with the Select Board on the 2025 Annual Town Meeting warrant articles. Call that meeting to order.
Okay. The first item would be review of the 2026 budget and report FinCom on the financial articles. How would you like to?
Well, what I can do, we met on last Thursday, March 27th, and we reviewed all of the town meeting warrant articles with a financial impact. And what I've prepared for the Select Board is a list of those articles, which we voted on and has been signed by me. And a short summary is that we did vote to recommend, our position would be recommend on all of the town meeting warrant articles with a financial impact. So we have this for your records.
Okay. Questions? We're in the financial articles? Okay. So then the next would be the review and approval of the 2025 special and annual town meeting warrant, meeting warrants by the Select Board. Instead of going through them all, are there any questions on any particular article?
No.
Raindrops, so I'm just doing
Sure.
it quick.
Yeah.
I don't think so, most of it is pretty standard,
Standard from year to year.
and we've kind of talked about it. Nope, I think, I'm okay with everything.
I'm okay.
All right, then I'll take a motion.
Then I will make a motion to approve the FY 2026.
No.
No.
Number 3. Oh, no, yeah,
2025.
yeah, so, yeah, number 3.
Oh, this one right
Yeah.
here. Okay. Then I make a motion to approve the 2025 special annual town meeting warrant.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. The warrant's approved. And then if you guys want to adjourn?
Yes. I make a motion that we adjourn the Finance Committee meeting.
Second.
Those in favor? Great. Thank you very
All right,
much.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving along to the town manager's report. Robert?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, in terms of the administrative update, you have in the packet the warrants that were approved since the select board last met. In terms of the update for this evening, just very briefly, now with the board's approval of the warrant, we will proceed with publicly posting the warrant by this Friday, April 4th, at which time it will be sent to printing and to mailing to all of the households in advance of town meeting. We will also, as we have done in previous years, start the articles of the day, where each day we highlight a couple of the articles that town meeting will be seeing on April 28th that has links to further information. We will, by Friday, also activate the town meeting webpage on the town website. So like the budget page, the town meeting webpage will populate that with all of the materials related to town meeting, which will be on, as I mentioned, April 28th at 7 p.m. As the board is aware, at town meeting, there will be, through the moderator, some brief presentations. One of them, obviously, on Article 5, which is the budget, and then Article 6, which is the Ayer Shirley Regional School District Assessment, and Article 7, which is the Neshoba Valley Tech High School. Both superintendents prepared to make a brief presentation on those requests, and we will have additional information presented as requested. We will also have the budget book that will be available by town meeting with further detail on the budget and financial matters. And we're looking forward to town meeting as we move forward on that and with the budget process. And of course, if anybody has questions leading up to town meeting, please don't hesitate to call or contact the town manager's office or any department. We want to make sure people have their information and questions answered. So unless there's any other questions from the board, or just briefly on the rodenticide policy. So what I prepared in your packet was a draft proposed policy. As Christine mentioned earlier, and I'll reach out to her after this meeting to get the education component for the policy, I think, which is a good idea. As we usually do, this was a draft, initial draft for any questions from the board for tonight. And then what I will do is send it to all departments just for an interdepartmental review. And then on April 15th at your meeting, it'd be ready, for final approval. I just want to point out that this policy would ban the SGARs on town-owned property, as the board and I have oversight on that. What Christine was mentioning earlier, which some towns are doing, and I think this is, for further discussion and should involve the Board of Health, I think, as well. She had mentioned whether they were home rule petitions or actions by town meeting, which would be more appropriate for the fall town meeting, given the timing, to look at controlling or banning these on private property would be more in the wheelhouse, I think, to start with the Board of Health and ultimately potentially with town meeting. So just to be clear, I think this is a first good step, would be all town property. So I don't know if there's any initial questions from the board on this, and then it would come back on the 15th for approval. And I do like Christine's suggestion about adding the education, the IPM component, and I'll connect with her on that.
Nope, I think it looks like a good first draft, yeah.
Yeah, do we know, and this might have come up in the last meeting, are SGARs being used in town, on town property?
Yes, yes, and two of the primary locations, the wastewater treatment plant and the transfer station,
Okay.
in sporadic and others. So we will switch to alternative means.
Okay, and we have those means
Yep.
ready, okay.
Yeah. And the policy, number 5.0, there is a mechanism for waivers in certain instances, and the real trigger on that is a significant rodent infestation, if that would to be needed. I'm not aware on any, since I've been here, of town assets that have had an infestation that would warrant this. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And I do agree, like adding a component for education. Christine, are you working with the Board of Health currently?
I reached out, but have not heard back, and I haven't had an opportunity to call again.
Okay. I was gonna say, since if they do decide to go home rule petition, they may also be able to help you develop like a campaign, educational campaign in the meantime. All right. Any other comments on it? Questions? Okay. Is that all right? Oh, sorry, Pauline.
Could I
Yeah.
say something?
Yep, go ahead.
This is Ann Gagnon. I just wanted to thank the town manager for drafting that policy. I thought it was very well written, and it's a very important issue. We have enough problems with poisons in our environment. We certainly don't need to be adding to it. So thank you very much for doing this work, and I hope that the selectmen will approve it at their next meeting.
Great. Thank you, Ann. Pauline, sorry, I almost missed you.
No worries. I don't have a question about the rodent policy. Did I miss something? Did you all run through the joint meeting with the finance committee in like 5 seconds or less?
We
Because I
did.
stepped yeah, is
Yes.
it gonna continue?
No, we had approved the warrant.
Oh,
And
I'm
they,
sorry, I missed it. I stepped away for 1 second, oh, maybe 5 seconds, and came back and, oh, it was over. But
yes,
I did have a question.
sure.
May I ask it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. On the warrant, which is not in front of me, there's about, and Robert, I'm just hoping you can give this information, about $7 million in borrowing request. But what I didn't see in the explanatory comments, and I think I know why, was what the impact would be on our tax bill. You and I talked about this a couple of months ago on a specific matter, which is not on the warrant. But is there any way you and or the treasurer can at least give some information on the warrant how $7 million in borrowing will impact our taxes next year? Because I think we all can agree things are not going well right now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
through you to Pauline's question. Yes, Pauline, as we discussed previously, and I've discussed this with Barbara, we're planning two things for town meeting is when we get to Article 13 to have a slide showing those impacts, and we're also going to put that in the budget book for town meeting. Putting it in the explanatory note and on the warrant, it wasn't the right spot, but we are going to have that information.
I appreciate it's not the right spot in
Yeah.
the warrant, but
Yeah.
people read the warrant. They don't read the budget book. They might
Right.
read but what are they called? Articles of the day.
Yeah.
But it really boils down to the impact on their pocketbook. And I'm sorry, I would like to know what it's going to cost me.
Yep. So I will make sure that we get that information out well in advance of town meeting as well as at town meeting.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep.
If I make a recommendation is on the explanatory note, is to add a line going, like details of how this will impact the taxpayer.
Okay.
Will be presented at town meeting and can also be found on those other links or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because she's right, because the explanatory notes will help. Those who attend town meeting will get the full thing, but those that, for whatever reason don't attend, they'll at least be able to go, oh, wait, you know,
Yep,
this have an impact, so.
okay. We can do that.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. Okay. Is that,
Unless the board had anything else on the rodent policy, for lack of a better word, that concludes my report for tonight.
all right. Thank you. Next item is new business or select board member questions. Didn't have any? No? Okay. I think you did a very good job.
Yeah.
All right, and then the next item would be the approval of meeting minutes from March 12th and March 18th. I did not have any changes in either
I
one.
didn't see anything. So I'll make a motion that the meeting minutes from March 12th and March 18th be approved as submitted.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. And Janice, take it away.
And if there's nothing else, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.